Hello, everyone. Welcome to History with Hirsifat. I'm your host, Chris, aka Hirsifat. Today, we'll be continuing our discussion of the decade that was the 80s with the year 1985. The views shared on this podcast come from your everyday, ordinary people. My hope is that it'll give a unique perspective on history. For future podcasts, we're going to be doing the years 1986 and 1987. And for those that listen to our podcast via Spotify, Apple, or Google, we also have a YouTube channel showcasing a number of top-notch videos highlighting some borderline funny moments from our podcast for your viewing pleasure. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today with us, we have Brad and Nick. They are back again. The old crew. Hello. Welcome again.
Hello, boys and girls.
Hello. Good to have you guys back. We'll jump right into it with our weird news of the week. This one was interesting. This one is from the New York Post, and the title is "My puppy chewed my big toe to the bone while I slept, but it saved my life." So,
all right.
What do you think?
This is weird already.
What do you think the first line of this?
Something about a dog in its bone. Something about
right. Give a dog a bone.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Very
Maybe
close.
Yeah.
First line of the article is, "They thought he was bad to the bone, but he was actually being a good boy."
Oh,
Nicky, your first line was better.
A UK man was horrified after discovering that his dog nearly chewed off his toe, only to find out later that his amputation might have saved his life. He's done a favor by chewing my toe. Sorry.
Done me a favor.
He's done me a favor by chewing my toe. David Lindsay, 64, told SWNS of the accidental diagnosis, which occurred while he was sleeping on the couch with his bulldog Harley nearby. The Cambridge native's nap was cut short after he heard his wife emit a blood-curdling scream. "I was asleep on the couch when my wife walked in and shouted, 'Dave, the puppy's chewing your toe,'" recalled Lindsay, who woke up to see a bloody stump where his big toe used to be. "My puppy had near enough chewed my big toe off," exclaimed the gas father of 5. "It chewed down to the bone and cracked it." The couple couldn't believe that the so-called man's best friend had treated Lindsay's toe like a Tootsie Pop.
Well, it's more. I can't believe he slept through it.
Lindsay's
What's
wife.
up with that?
Well, Lindsay's
Let's
wife.
find out.
Lindsay's wife quickly bandaged the digit before transporting her now stubby hubby to the hospital, where he learned.
Jesus fuck.
Stubby hubby.
Amputation on top of that. Just God.
New York Post is trash. This is terrible. Who fucking writes this? Fire all these people. All right. Where he learned that he had an infection due to the bite. The Brit was forced to remain there for 9 days while doctors administered intravenous antibiotics to stop it from spreading to his bone. Despite the grueling ordeal, the bite turned out to be a blessing in disguise as it led to a shocking diagnosis. "Because of all this, I discovered that my foot is completely numb. I can't feel anything," exclaimed the patient, who suffers from diabetes. Subsequent CT scans revealed that the Brit had suffered 2 blocked arteries, putting him in danger of requiring a leg amputation due to the lack of blood flow to the region. Thanks to Harley's rexploratory incision, Lindsay is currently being assessed for stents, which would open up the arteries and restore circulation to his limbs. In other words, losing a toe, paradoxically, might have prevented him from losing a leg. Lindsay has since learned to see the funny side of the situation. "You've got to laugh about it," mused the owner, who has no plans to give away the dog who nipped his problem to the nub. "I'm waiting to find out if they can put stents in. I'll be keeping the dog." He added, "I'll try to keep my toe too, but if not, I told the doctors to cut it off, and I can take it home for him." It's unlikely that Harley sensed his owner was in peril. However, canines have displayed an uncanny potential to detect disease. In her book, Dr. Dogs, How Our Best Friends Are Becoming Our Best Medicine, Maria Goodavage details how Fido can sniff out a number of medical issues ranging from malaria to early-stage cancer. Meanwhile, last year, several U.S. states deployed virus-sniffing dogs to identify COVID-19 in schools and other facilities. So yeah, the dog, I can only imagine what I think was going through the dog said. If his foot's completely numb, he can't feel it. You don't think you'd need a dog chewing off your toe to figure that out. Like, how do you not know that your foot's numb?
Right.
Exactly.
How the hell does that work out? So, I mean,
that is just ridiculous.
This is something's fishy about this story. I don't know.
There's something very fishy about this
something bit weird. I don't know if I buy that at all. Dogs do have a sense that can sense things that are change biologically, in our bodies. They can like sense that sort of thing. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know about like does he like see like heat vision, or like he sees blood flow? The blood flow just stops at like the ankle, and he's like, oh, that's just a chew toy. That's what that is now. I'll just go chew on the big toe. Nothing. So, that is the weird news of the week. Yeah, good stuff. Good
That's
stuff.
gruesome.
Yeah. Just the title alone, and it was the New York Post, so I knew, I was in for a treat. A dog treat.
So was the dog as
Nice.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. All right, then. Thank you. We will now move into our timeline section of the podcast with the timeline of 1985.
Up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Remember this face.
Good morning, everyone. There appears to have been a very serious accident involving the Space Shuttle Challenger.
What you talking about, Will?
Good evening. Millions of people mourned the tragic death of John Lennon today, the young and the middle-aged.
There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this.
Where's the beef?
Astonishing news from East Germany, where the East German authorities have said, in essence, that the Berlin Wall doesn't mean anything anymore.
Afternoon, everybody. No!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
And on January 28th, 1985, the charity single record We Are the World is recorded by USA for Africa. Unfortunately, all the proceeds went straight to Michael Jackson's newly acquired rights to the Beatles' discography and Lionel Richie's Sex Dungeon. On February...
And Michael Jackson's Sex Dungeon.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I should have mentioned that too. Double the Sex Dungeon. Double
His
the
oxygen tent.
Yes.
I think he just tore down the wall in the middle and combined them.
Yes, let's just make one giant. Absolutely.
Right. The mega Sex Dungeon.
Ooh.
On February 19th, 1985, William J. Schroeder becomes the first artificial heart patient to leave the hospital, as all the other artificial heart patients couldn't make it out the front door. On March 6, 1985, Mike Tyson makes his professional boxing debut at 18 years old with a decisive first-round knockout of Hector Mercedes. After the fight, Tyson claimed he was the baddest man on the planet, and he would eat his opponent alive if given the chance. On April 1st, 1985, after months of squabbling, David Lee Roth leaves Van Halen to begin his long-lasting, legendary Hall of Fame solo career. On May 16th...
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. On May 16th, 1985, scientists of the British Antarctic Survey announced the discovery of the ozone hole. After the discovery, the United States, under the supervision of Ronald Reagan, would spend the next 4 years trying to close the hole by spraying large quantities of aerosol into the atmosphere. On June 27th, 1985, the iconic U.S. Route 66, the highway that spanned 2,200 miles, is officially decommissioned. The highway would later become the inspiration for the Pixar movie Cars 2: Mater's Tall Tales. On July 19th, 1985, New Hampshire teacher Krista McAlufy. Oh, geez, hold on. Krista McAlufy. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but I already did.
That's a
try
goofy
that.
fucking name.
Yeah.
I already did.
I'm just going to cut this all out. I'm just going to go. On July 19th, 1985, New Hampshire teacher Krista McAlufy, that's horribly mispronounced, is selected as the first person to go into space under the Teacher in Space project and designated to ride aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. The project was axed on the January 28th, 1986. On August 26th...
It was? They just said no-go on that?
Well, we'll get to that in 1986. You'll see why.
They went, but yeah.
I see.
It was axed about a minute and a half in. Yeah.
I got you.
She was in for a big surprise.
Yeah. Yes. We all were. And the hundreds of children watching that day, too. On August 26, 1985, 13-year-old Ryan White begins attending classes at Western Military School in Kokomo, Indiana, via a telephone hookup. A year later, Ryan would attend Hamilton Heights High School in Arcadia, Indiana, after he was run out of town in Kokomo. Take a second to talk about that. That's the Ryan White. That's the kid. He had a blood transfusion. And in the transfusion, someone that gave their blood, had AIDS. And he ended up contracting the disease himself. And it changed the public perception on it just being considered like the gay disease, as they called it, and all that stuff. Elton John became a big supporter of Ryan White. He didn't live very long, but it was quite. I mean, going back and looking at it, it's just really tragic stuff, just horrific. People have no idea what's going on, and they think like when he showed up to his school in Kokomo, Indiana, that like 138 kids just didn't show up that day. Their parents kept them home. And eventually all the harassments and the bullying, he just left. So the kid's already got it go rough, to say the least. And he's got to go through all that shit. So, yeah. Good stuff. All right. We'll move on now to on August 31st, 1985, Richard Ramirez, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, is captured in Southern California by a group of neighborhood locals who spotted Ramirez trying to leave town. His arrest would allow the residents of California to sleep a little easier and give the local female population someone to write love letters to. On September 1st, the wreck of the RMS Titanic is located by a joint American-French expedition led by Dr. Robert Ballard and Jean-Louis Michel, using a side-scan sonar from RV Nor. The ship would be retrieved piece by piece over the next decade in preparation for James Cameron's film, but was scrapped and thrown back into the Atlantic after the invention of special effects. On October 18th.
I don't need this anymore.
Just chuck it back in.
Sorry about that.
Just dropping it back. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. October 18th, 1985. Big day on here. October 18th, 1985. Nintendo releases the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America. The NES would go on to become a revolutionary entertainment system that would propel the gaming industry back into the public limelight, where it would remain to this day, nearly 40 years later. A huge day. It was released in New York City, a limited release, special little, just a few stores, and it just sold out. In it, the original console that was in New York City, I think you got, what was it, Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, combined, that one cartridge, the gun, obviously the console, and another controller, 2 controllers and the whole thing. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
How much was that going for then?
I think it was like $175, something like that.
Shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's expensive. That's steep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, back then that's like $5,000 in today's money.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, just we'll talk more about the Nintendo a little bit later in the podcast, but and on October 18th, that's when I was always wondering, I never knew when it actually got released, but now I do. So, all right, on November 17th, 1985, November 17th, 1985, crack cocaine makes its first appearance on the cover of the New York Times.
Awesome.
Man of the year.
The Times.
Mr. Cocaine.
Not your parents' drugs. The Times described crack as a super drug capable of shattering someone's leg in 3 places. And on November 18th, Lawrence Taylor shatters Joe Theismann's leg in 3 places on Monday Night Football.
Oh, man.
Yep. And on December 20th, they showed that over and over again, too, the video.
Yeah. I watched that. I ended up watching that. And,
I watch that every day.
That's you wake up to.
Every day. Yeah, I got a schedule going here.
Got my morning ritual. Cup of coffee. And
gets me going.
Oh, my God. You just see it. Oh, God. Anyway, you need help. That's what's going on. December 23rd, 1985. 2 young fans of Judas Priest in Sparks, Nevada shoot themselves, one fatally, after listening to the band's records. A lawsuit is brought against the group in 1986, claiming that they were compelled by backwards subliminal messages hidden in the music. During the trial, lead singer Rob Halford told the prosecuting attorney that if he were to leave subliminal messages in their music, it would be to buy more albums before killing yourself. All right, that will do it for the timeline of 1985. Yay!
Insert applause here.
There we go. Clap. Everyone clap. I swear. Clap now or
right.
You're fired. All right. There it is. All right. There it is. Okay. Terrible. It was like a one-hand clap. Would you slap your arm? No matter.
No, I just...
Yeah. All right. We will now move into the movie section of the podcast with movies of 1985.
I am your father.
Fuck you, asshole.
Inconceivable.
That's right, boys. It's Dr. Venkman.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Nice fucking model! I work for Dick Jones! Dick Jones! Game over, man. Game over.
Yippee-ki-yay,
Here's Johnny.
And for the top 10 grossing movies of the year 1985, number 10, we have Fantasia. Fantasia, the re-release.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I was gonna say that movie came out in like the 30s or something.
Yep. That was number 10. So.
Well, yeah, that movie's fucking awesome.
Yep. That's one of the better ones on this list. There's only a few, I should say. Any favorite scenes from our musical sections of Fantasia? That I like the mops, buckets, the brooms, the whole thing.
Dun the Master's Apprentice or whatever I think is the name of that piece. I love the dinosaur part with the Rite of Spring by Stravinsky.
Yes.
That got me into that weird dissonant classical music when I was a kid. Night on Bald Mountain at the very end, the like demon guy. That's really awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole thing.
The whole thing. Well done. I thought so. I think
the unicorn or the centaur, whatever part with Beethoven's Symphony 6.
Yeah, I know.
That went on a little bit too long. That got kind of boring after a while.
Gotcha.
The whole thing's like 5 hours long or some crazy shit.
I think that was the last movie Walt Disney himself released. I think he died shortly thereafter, or maybe a bit before. Fantasia. Yep. Number 9, we had Police Academy 2, their first assignment. So he spent the whole movie just, I guess, throwing through training, and they get their first assignment, decided to make a movie out of it. The first movie was critically panned across the board, and somehow, I guess, no one.
So they made another.
They made another. They made like 7.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
It's weird.
Ridiculous. It's just not a good movie. It's not funny.
No.
It's basically like Airplane was such a huge success that people are just trying to do something similar, and it's just not as good. So, Police Academy 2, their first assignment, the 9th highest grossing movie of 1985. Number 8, this is an all-time classic. Number 8 highest grossing movie 1985 was The Goonies. The Goonies.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The Goonies.
Do you have a favorite scene, Nick? Something about The Goonies that stuck out to you? Or stays with you still?
Oh, man. I like near the beginning, like with the police chase, right? And Chunk at like the bowling alley, seeing the chase, and he like the drink explodes in his hand or something like that. He puts a pizza on the window or something. And then like Data, coming in like through the windows and shit.
Yeah.
But all his gadgets were great. There's really a lot of great scenes. I like when the Fratellis, they get back to like their hideout, and they put Chunk in the freezer. And that's like around the time when you meet I gotta remember his name.
Sloth,
yeah.
Hey, you guys. Yeah, the whole thing. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I actually Jacob, the guy that was on here, that's been on here before, he and I went to Washington, and we ended up going to Astoria in that town, seeing all the sites. And it was really cool. It was really great. They actually made the prison that's in the movie, when the guy's like hanging there. It's got like the sign on him. They made that into like a little movie museum because
cool.
A lot of movies were shot there, right? Like Kindergarten Cop.
Oh wow.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Of course.
And of course The Goonies as well.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Brad, you have anything to say on The Goonies? I got a few things.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
I do like Sloth's affinity for Baby Ruths. And I don't know, the whole underground scene where they're, working their way through the caverns and the water, and that skeleton piano that you have to play the right notes on it, like all that shit's really neat.
Yeah. That truffle shuffle, you can't talk about the Goonies. I'll talk about the truffle shuffle. You have to talk about that.
Ultimate fat kid dance.
Well, all the young actors that are in that went on to become big names. Sean Astin, Corey Feldman, all that stuff. And now, Key, a short round from Indiana Jones. Yeah,
right.
And
he also plays Data, and he exactly.
Yeah, with the most recent Everything Everywhere All at Once, that fantastic movie. So, it's just It's a classic 80s film, maybe one of the classics. I mean, you could do like E.T., The Goonies, and when you think of 80s films, The Goonies is definitely up there. One of the things that always just, I don't know necessarily took me out of the movie, but I just thought it was so corny that it really knocked it down a peg for me, and it has to do with Data. When he's falling to his death, essentially, and there's like these spiky rocks, and
I love this part.
He shoots out the fucking teeth on like a, what do you call it, a slinky?
Yeah.
And the fucking teeth catch it, and it's whoa, and it brings it back up. Fuck off, get out of here. No,
titanium jaws that those teeth have.
The story would have been infinitely better if Data had fallen to his death.
That's
and the Goonies
had to march on without him. Yeah.
Right. That is dark, dude.
No, I need some loss of life. I need something. I don't think anybody dies in that movie. Everyone's just kind of, it's all cartoony in a way.
It's for kids.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's good. There was that deleted scene with the octopus down in the water that they filmed a lot of, but they cut it all out. Or maybe it was a squid. I think it was a squid. They took it out. If you go online, you can see like the deleted scenes to that. And then at the end, the pirate ship just sailing away. All that stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, classic movie, The Goonies. All right, we'll move on now to the seventh highest grossing movie of 1985, a movie called Witness with Harrison Ford. I believe this one is with this Amish kid who saw a murder, and he has to like put him into like protective custody, and since it's Amish, it causes all sorts of different issues. Harrison Ford does his classic overacting scene where he's like, enough, his face just like scrunches up, yeah. Like he said, where like it's very similar to that scene where he's like, say hello to Kali in hell. It's a very similar, like scrunched up, get off my plane, that sort of thing. Yeah. Harrison Ford,
scary Harrison Ford,
scary Harry. Yep.
Scarrison.
Yeah.
Scarrison Ford.
But I've heard that's a pretty good movie. I haven't seen it personally, but I hear it's one of the better ones Harrison Ford did. Number 6, the sixth highest grossing movie of 1985, a movie called The Dream is Alive. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. No idea.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. No idea.
Uplifting. I don't know.
I've never seen that movie. I don't even know anybody who's even recommended this movie to me. Even through secondhand recommendation, nothing. The Dream is Alive was number 6. Number
Inspiring.
5. Yeah, number 5 was the movie Cocoon, which is a movie you can't get on DVD or Blu-ray or anything. It's just not available.
For good reason.
Not streaming, nothing. Why isn't it allowed? I can't remember. I just know that
Cocoon, it's like all these old people find these weird cocoons in this pool, and then they jump in and it like rejuvenates them, and they all start fucking each other.
Yeah.
That's like the gist of the movie.
Yep, old people fucking. Cocoon. Mm-hmm. It's a Ron Howard film, which is interesting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. But yeah, you can't get any. Why can't you? I mean, there's been a lot of movies that have made it to DVD. Darkman 3 made it to DVD, but Cocoon can't. Come on now. Yeah.
Right.
But I have never seen that movie because it's incredibly hard to watch because it's not available anywhere. So it's like one of those.
I remember catching it on regular TV, over-the-air TV when I was a kid.
There's some reason that it got cut out. And I don't know why exactly. I don't remember. It's all right. We'll move on to the this top 4 here. Number 4, the fourth highest grossing movie of 1985 was the movie Rocky 4. Okay. Rocky 4.
I've never seen it.
He goes to Russia to train. He gets a tan, which is what happens in Russia while you're training in the winter.
Of course.
You get a lot of sun out there.
Yeah, that you do. A lot of. Yeah,
a little too much.
I think it did. A little too much.
Too much.
Ivan Drago is the Russian, played by Dolph Lundgren. Yes, he. I think in one scene he's like doing like a public event where they're showcasing his strength, and his Russian manager, who's just like, he's clearly not Russian in real life, but he's doing that fake Russian accent, where he's just like, Ivan can punch. The normal boxer is 700 pounds of pressure per punch, but when Ivan punches, oh! Like he actually, before he does anything, he looks over to get the nod, the head nod. It's okay to punch. And then his face turns mean, and then he punches this thing. It's like one of those video games where you punch a punching bag and it lets you know how many points you racked up or how hard you hit it. He hits it and it's 1,800. You see, Ivan hits 1,800. So what does that mean? Now the reporter asks, and he's like, well, what that means is whatever he punches, he destroys, dun dun dun, and then it goes the next scene, and like he's like fighting Apollo Creed for some reason. Apollo Creed wants to get back in the ring. He's like, "No worry, Rock, I got this guy." And he's like dancing around. He's like, "Hey, Apollo, you're not paying attention, Apollo."
Oh,
and
no.
he's like, "No, Rock, I got it." And he's like dancing around. Then all of a sudden, driving if he dies, he dies. He punches the guy. He just kills Apollo Creed in the ring.
Oh no!
Yeah, spoiler alert. And then it's basically like Rocky 3, where Mick dies after a large, a boxing match goes south with Clubber Lang. Number 8, 1984, or Rocky 4. It's Apollo Creed dying in the ring, same deal. And then I think the only sort of like in terms of like continuation of a plot line that they keep throughout the rest of the series is apparently Rocky took such a beating in Rocky 4 from Ivan Drago with his 1,800 pounds of pressure that he's got severe brain damage, like issues, like the rest of the series. Like in Rocky 5, he can't do anything. In Rocky's the new ones that he made, he's still got issues with the beating he took from Ivan Drago. And I believe in the Creed movies, they bring up stuff like that. And Creed 2, I think he fights Ivan Drago's kid, the guy that Rocky's. It's just never ending. It's like there's like 6 boxers, and when their dads are all done fighting, the kids fight, and the dads train them. It's the same. It's stupid. Anyway,
So, is this the one with the robot maid?
This one I think is what the robot made.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you really need to know about this movie. That he got it for Paulie or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
And you think he falls in love with it?
Yeah. And then there's a scene.
It's a whole thing.
Paulie's in bed with the robot, and there's like an oil leak on the bed. It's the whole thing. Yeah.
Right.
What?
Yeah. No, that's made up. All right. So
don't worry about it, Nick.
Yeah. You don't want to see that. Just like Cocoon.
I don't want.
Just like Cocoon, it will never be shown. All right. We'll do it for Rocky 4. Sorry, Sly, if you're listening to this, or if you do listen to this.
Oh, man.
It's not the best Rocky. There are some moments, I guess, that are just classic because maybe it's nostalgia. But, I mean, Rocky's 1, 2, and for the most part 3, but there are some issues with 3. But this is really when Rocky just jumped off a cliff. And then we get Rocky 5, which I don't think came out till like 1990 something, because this one, yeah, that was pretty much it. And that one was with Tommy Gunn and the whole thing. All right, we will now move on to the top 3. Number 3, the third highest grossing movie of 1985, classic Eddie Murphy film here, Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop, with the classic theme, which I guess when Axel F was released or shown to the the studio execs, they didn't like it until like the director was like, "No, I like that song. Let's keep it." And they're like, "Okay, you know what? This is a good song." And it's like, well, "Fuck off, execs. What the fuck do you know? How do you not like Axel F? It's a classic." Nah, whatever. Just like I've never not like the first time I heard that song, I was like, I don't know what this is, but I think it's pretty cool. But the thing is, I've never actually seen Beverly Hills Cop. Never watched it.
We mentioned this on the last podcast.
Yeah, so
yeah, I remember that. I listened to that.
I think this movie came out 1984.
Yes, it was 84.
Yeah, and that's just how the 80s were. Just like in the 90s, it only happened, but those were like major movies, like maybe like Home Alone or Jurassic Park or Titanic, where it shows up 2 years in a row, top 10. But Beverly Hills Cop was kind of like that. All right, number 2, the second highest grossing movie of 1985. Stallone's year, man. Rambo: First Blood Part 2. One of the most confusing titles for a movie. This was number 2. I haven't seen a single Rambo film. I've never wanted to see them. The first one was probably the only one that had any interest because I heard that one was pretty good.
I'm telling you, watch the first one.
But the second one,
it's actually good.
I don't know about the second one. I've never. Well, what do you have? Have you seen the second one? Right?
No.
No.
I've only ever seen the first. I saw the first one, then I saw one of the random. I think it was just. I don't even know what it was called. It wasn't the newest one, but the previously.
I see.
Previous one from like 2013 or something.
Right.
It was just excessively gory to the point of hilarity.
Is that the one where he's got like a Gatling gun and he fires it on like a truck and it's just like a bunch of body parts just
oh yeah,
that's a whole thing. Yeah.
There's like a burning village and the soldier like takes this woman's like infant from her. She's like, "My baby," and he just takes the baby and throws it into the burning hut.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. For some reason I laughed at that because it's so ridiculous. It's like, who does that? He went out of his way to throw a baby into a fire. Like,
all right, the guy's clearly deranged. All right. Well, I mean, there's not much to say for this Rambo, but the top movie of the year 1985, easy. Any guesses? It's pretty. I mean, this is.
Oh, I know what it is
Yeah,
already.
it's
Dun, 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 drum
Back
roll.
to the Future.
There it is. Back to the Future, the #1 movie of 1985. I remember the first time I saw this movie, I thought it was great. And the subsequent rewatches that I've had. The only film with what's his dad's actor who plays his dad? He's an odd fellow.
Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover. This is the only Back to the Future film with him in it. The second one is not him. It's an actor who's got makeup on to look like him. And
oh yeah, they don't really show him, right?
It caused a big thing because they used his likeness in a movie,
right?
And he sued them for it, and he won the case, which was a huge precedent for actors and actresses in Hollywood. It helped them out a great deal. It prevented studios from doing a similar thing, and made sure that the actors get work. But yeah, Back to the Future. I mean, the beginning of it's one of the best beginnings to really any movie. Even with the Power Love song in the background, everything you need to know about the characters is told to you in the first 15 minutes. Like everything you need to know.
Right.
It's really good. It's really well done. You know who Marty McFly is. You know about Doc Brown. You know a bit about his girlfriend. You know his parents, his brother and sister, siblings, stuff like that. You know his dad's Biff coming over and all that. Being an asshole that he is. Yeah, pretty much the start of it. It's really well done. 15 minutes, and then it really doesn't let go. It's really it's Robert Zemeckis' film. It's like his second big film after his Jewel of the Nile or whatever, or Romancing the Stone. That's what it was. Romancing the Stone. Yeah. Any top moments for you, Brad, on Back to the Future?
Oh, geez. That giant guitar amp.
Oh, yeah.
At the very beginning.
All right.
Doc Brown and the Libyans, of all people. What was he selling? Or what were they after him for? The uranium?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
88 miles per hour. You're gonna see some serious shit.
The DeLorean.
The DeLorean. The whole weird thing with his young mom wanting to have sex with him.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure got a lot of people off.
Yeah. I mean, they were already down for brother and sister.
I mean,
in
she
Star
was
Wars.
really hot though, so man, I don't know.
So if you were the son, what do you say?
Let's not get into it.
Hold on, let's dig into this. Let me think about this. So let's say you're Marty McFly or Calvin Klein. Yes, if you were Calvin Klein.
No. In real life, no. I would be mortified.
You went back to time, and you
saw
that
Linda.
actress.
But that actress is very pretty.
Your dad listens to this. I want to let you know. So he's gonna have questions for you next time you come over. What are you talking about, son?
Oh, I'm getting
your phone's getting blown up
kicked out
right
of the family.
Oh God, yeah, no, but that it's. I mean, what was it? Luke and Leia
getting emancipated.
They really, yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah, Nick, do you have anything that you want to? I mean, with Back to the Future, something that sticks out to you, a good scene, like a favorite scene.
Well, there's so many freaking scenes, but I really wanted to talk about during I believe it's the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. When Marty McFly is playing Johnny Be Good, and they have the phone, they're like, "Hey, Chuck, this is the sound you've been looking for," and which is to suggest that Marty McFly, like that Chuck Berry learned Johnny Be Good from Marty McFly. However, that can't be the case because Marty McFly knew how to play the song, which means he learned it in 1985. Right? So who taught who?
Oh, it's a paradox.
You're right, exactly.
It's a loop.
Yeah. It's my favorite paradox, I think, in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's pretty. You think about it.
Yeah.
He learned Johnny Be Good from Chuck Berry.
Right.
Who learned it from Marty McFly.
Right.
When he went back in time.
Yeah.
Who learned it from Chuck Berry.
Right.
Yeah. It just goes forever. Yeah. There's no answer.
It's so good. Like Chuck learned it over the phone. That's how good he is.
Right.
Marty McFly had to learn it from just by listening, I guess.
Right.
At that point in time.
Chuck wouldn't have heard the entire song over the phone.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
So,
he heard a bit.
But enough to make the whole thing, which then Marty would learn. Yeah, okay, here we go again.
Right, exactly, yeah.
He's like, yo, Chuck, it's your cousin. Marvin,
Yeah.
Marvin Berry.
Right,
listen to this.
Yeah.
And he holds up the
you're
phone.
the guitar player.
The sound you've been looking for? Well, listen to this. And he's playing a song. Now, here's the thing.
Right.
He's like, all right, the song's in B. Keep up. Watch for the changes. Try and keep up. It's not in B. He's also not playing it correctly. Someone actually went ahead and it's a really funny YouTube video of someone playing as good of a job as Michael J. Fox did with the guitar work, fingering style and all that stuff. Someone actually who plays guitar followed his fingers and played what he would have been playing at that point. And it sounds like absolute garbage.
Yeah, because he probably can't really play the guitar.
No,
so.
it's so bad.
I gotta hear that.
It's so funny. He has some moments where it's like, okay, that kind of, even though it's not in the right key or anything close, but I guess, really, really funny stuff. Yeah, the whole movie is just a classic. It's endlessly rewatchable. One of the best trilogies of all time. The starting off. I mean, this movie, when Michael J. Fox was doing this movie, he was also doing Family Ties. That was part of the deal he had. Well, let me back this up. Before he got offered the role, he turned it down because he was on TV and he didn't want to. I mean, he'd be working 18 hours a day, essentially. Right. And they offered it to this other guy. I can't remember his name. He's a good actor. He actually ended up starring, this actor ended up starring in the movie The Fly 2. He was the main guy in The Fly 2. But he was the original Marty McFly, and they filmed a good portion of the movie, maybe the bit of the beginning, with him in it. So if you go online, you'll see some scenes that, obviously aren't Michael J. Fox, they're another actor. But his comedic timing and ability to be funny is not that of Michael J. Fox. And so they really pleaded with Michael, please come do this. And so he agreed to finally do it. They cut all that guy's parts out and they reshot the entire thing with Michael J. Fox. And you'll see like a side-by-side comparison of the scenes. And it's just Michael J. Fox's natural comedic ability that just shines throughout that movie. It's really good stuff. I mean, Crispin Glover too, the way that he's just such a helpless wimp. It's so fucking funny. And he's a pervert. Fantastic. And he's a weird pervert too. And he like goes up and he sees his dad. He's like following his dad, and he sees him up in a tree with binoculars. He's like, "Oh my god,
yeah,
the
peeping Tom."
Like he's looking back, like, "Oh my god, my parents are what?" All this stuff. Yeah, it's some of it's a bit corny, but it's really it's just a really well done movie. One of the all time greats. Can't say enough good things about Back to the Future.
It's also to suggest that the time, like, so when he's disappearing in the photograph.
Yes,
because his parents aren't getting together. That's to suggest that it's that's the same timeline, right? There's no tangent timeline. So, so Spielberg did some backpedaling when the second movie came out because he made it. He was like, "Oh, well, it's actually a tangent timeline." Kind of changed the whole thing,
right?
Yeah.
Also, Nick, you're on a different timeline because it wasn't Spielberg,
or not What?
Zemeckis.
Zemeckis, yes.
Hmm? Yeah.
Well, with that picture, eventually, like everyone's disappeared in the picture. You know? So why would they even take a picture of nothing?
He's literally disappearing.
Right.
It's a nice.
Oh my god,
it's a nice little spot.
That's probably the worst special effects of the entire movie. When his arm is
invisible,
when his arm is disappearing, and this random arm that's clearly not him at all, and he's staring off, and it looks so bad. I'm sorry, but I mean it's 1985.
It does.
They did the best they could. Just I love Crispin Glover. I'm just not good with confrontations. And he just the way he reads his lines is so fucking funny. Hey McFly, something on your shoe. Wow, get a dream, McFly. Come on, and he grabs him by the head, gives him a nuggie, and rubs his head. You do my homework? Yeah, McFly. Yeah, it's such a good. Billy Zane, the three henchmen that are behind him, Biff, are the same three throughout the entire movie. When he's Mad Dog Tannen. And in the sequel where he's essentially like Donald Trump, where he's this casino mogul, all this crap. Back to the Future, top movie of 1985. My number one selection of 1985. I'd say probably no other movie from 1985 is worthwhile. If you don't watch any other movie besides Back to the Future, you're okay. All right. I will now move on to the personal film selections of 1985. I'm going to start with the bottom here because Brad mentioned it. Commando. If you want to go ahead and tell us why you like Commando so much.
Oh, it's just like I said on the last podcast, it's an 80s action movie, so it's good. And it's Schwarzenegger. He's blowing shit up. He's doing the one-liners. He's cracking necks. He's like blowing up buildings and shooting people with like a giant assault rifle and just wasting a bunch of guys, and it's pretty awesome.
His name, John Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah, because his daughter gets like taken captive by this drug lord or something, and the drug lord tells John Matrix like, you have to fly over to this country and kill like my enemy. So then, you know, Schwarzenegger is like, all right, and he gets on the plane with like with a bodyguard to make sure, you know, Schwarzenegger gets to that country, and he snaps his neck and puts like a hat over his face, and then the flight attendant walks by. It's like, oh, don't bother my friend, he's dead tired.
Oh.
That's just one.
That's incredible.
Oh, and I think he like breaks a steam pipe and then kicks a guy like through the steam pipe, so it's like sticking out of his chest, blowing steam. And of course he says, "Let off some steam." It's fantastic. It's
so good, dude.
And the soundtrack is like this weird like saxophone and steel drum combination.
Oh my god.
It's glorious.
This is like, oh my god, this might be considered like a real classic then.
There's
this sounds like everything you would do for an action movie in the 80s.
It is. There's a big brawl in a mall, and he's like tossing people. He's tossing people over the edge, and I think he like rips a payphone out of the ground and throws it at a guy or something.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I'm telling you, it's great.
Sly and I used to watch a lot of Schwarzenegger films. One of the fun things to do is to this is way back in the day. We put on a movie and we'd hit mute and just try and make up our own dialogue to see if it matched.
Nice. Dub over it.
Yeah, dub over it.
That's awesome.
But we also really liked all of his one-liners like that. Like in True Lies, it's "you're fired." He shoots the guy at the right. I think it's in Predator when he turns around and he throws a knife through a guy's stomach, like sticks him up against the wall basically, and he's like, "Stick around," you know, and it's just like all this stuff. Oh, his one-liners, you know.
I mean, like Last Action Hero. I think he's like holding a guy upside down over a cliff, and he drops him, and he goes back, and this lady's like, "Oh, what happened to Marvin?" And he's like, "I had to let him go."
Oh god, I looked in The Simpsons with that whole McBain. You know,
of course, yeah,
just so good. He comes out of the ice to see you. Oh, I love it. All right, we'll move on here. But yeah, Commando, just for the puns alone, just for all that shit, watch it. I kind of want to watch it now.
Right, me too.
Personal film selection, 1985. Another one I've got, Re-Animator. It's a good classic sci-fi horror thriller film. If you've never seen it, it's really good special effects, especially for its time. I really recommend it. We'll move on to another one I've got, The Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron, a Disney film that went through production hell, finally was released, and didn't really do well at all. It started like the dark ages of Disney, about early a little bit before, but Disney wasn't a really well thought out commodity. It wasn't really much of anything. I think they had just jumped into cable TV with Disney TV or something like that, you know? But really with The Black Cauldron, it wasn't until The Great Mouse Detective came out in a few years that it became like, it started getting some steam back. And then eventually after The Great Mouse Detective, it was Little Mermaid, which was 1989. So Disney was not the powerhouse it is today back in the 80s. It was actually, I think, probably at its lowest point until maybe right after Walt Disney died. But The Black Cauldron is a really good, it's actually one of the ones I wish that if Disney were to do a live remake, they should do The Black Cauldron. I think with Lord of the Rings and fantasy culture just, being really, really popular.
Sure.
If you were to do a remake, do The Black Cauldron. Do it some justice.
Fucking nerds would eat it right up.
Right. And the villain from that movie is terrifying. It's probably the most terrifying villain in all of Disney. It's really good stuff, though. I actually really enjoyed the movie. I liked it. It was much darker than I was used to with Disney, which I always go darker. I just like it. It just seems more realistic, I guess. It's not happy-go-lucky singing songs and the birds are singing to you. It's all that, like actually singing. But yeah, it's a good one. It's a Disney classic that not a lot of people talk about. So I got two more left here. Another personal film selections of mine for 1985. The movie Summer Rental with John Candy. He takes his family on a summer rental, gets into all sorts of things. It's kind of like a Ben Stiller kind of riffs, does like the same thing that John Candy was doing, where a lot of shit just happens to him, throughout the movie, like all these crazy things. Like he lays out to get some sun. Someone forgets about her. He falls asleep, and he has an incredibly bad sunburn throughout the entire movie.
Of course,
yes. He's in a summer rental house, but he doesn't realize that he's got to like lock the doors, otherwise people just come in. And there's just a bunch of people hanging out in his house, like eating his food, stuff like that. And like the room that he wanted isn't
Brad,
where it is, and like people are just like surrounding, like just walking by his house. He's got no privacy or anything like that.
Oh no!
It's just like it's one of those things, But it's one of the it's basically it's like a Ben Stiller film. It's like Meet the Parents, where it's all set up and then everything just sort of goes wrong. But actually, I thought it was pretty funny. John Candy, he's just always funny. So
John Candy's just was a wonderful man.
Mm-hmm. But Summer Rental, it's not bad. It's worth at least one watch. So yeah,
it sounds like it's a knee slapper.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Maybe half a knee slap.
Yeah, half a knee. I'm not sure. Knee tapper, maybe, not a slap.
There you go.
There we go. All right, and my last personal film selection of 1985. I was hesitant to even recommend this per se because everybody kind of knows about it, but I mean, it's not bad, but I don't hold it in such a high esteem as a lot of other people, and that's The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't resonate with me. It never did. I didn't fit into any of those categories that those kids fit into.
Yeah. Right.
I was like bits and pieces maybe of one or two, but not in its entirety. It just it seemed like I just don't know. Maybe it had to be a product of its time, that you had to be an 80s kid to really understand that. But for me, it was just kind of like, it just like, I remember there was the scene where Emilio Estevez is crying about the bullying that he did to some kid.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, what is he talking about? I was like something about humiliation. And I was like, yeah, I mean that's one thing, but I mean let's actually talk about bullying here. That's cake. I mean, that kid probably went home. He could have a funny story to tell in like a week or two. Like I'm pretty sure it was like tape on his ass or something like that, and he like ripped it off or something, and he tore out hair, and people were like, oh, stuff like that. I like the bullying that I've endured and seen given to other people being dealt out, infinitely worse than anything that guy was describing. And I don't know what's up with the weird girl. I think she's just weird for weird's sake. There's no indication given as to why she's that way, I guess.
She's like really quiet, and then I remember the scene where she like shook all the dandruff out of her hair and made it into like a little like drawing or something on a piece of paper. Right? So,
something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
She made her sandwich with like cereal and like crunched it all up and then ate it. And then someone ate sushi and he was like, I don't think I could eat that. Can I eat? I don't know. Go ahead. The rough kid from the rough side of the tracks.
Oh yeah, he's tough, bro.
Like that kid is probably the most that would probably be the most realistic, I'd say. I don't know about the jocks. I think like I've heard about Jock. I don't know. It just seemed like the weakest story. And the nerd wasn't bad. He's a funny guy anyway. Anthony Michael Hall, I believe. He was on Saturday Night Live. He was in Freddy Got Fingered. Really good stuff. Yeah, it's just he's the guy in Freddy Got Fingered. If it doesn't work out, Gord, then blow your fucking brains out. That's him. That's him. Yeah. So it's a classic. I like the principal probably more than anything. I think he's probably the best thing about the whole movie. Yeah. Do you guys have any scenes from The Breakfast Club that stuck out to you?
Nah, just Molly Ringwald.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nick, how about you? Anything? Is it just me, or is The Breakfast Club just kind of I hate that fucking song. Don't you forget about me.
Forget about me.
I can't. I wish I could. I wish I could.
Yeah, no.
I'm pretty sure the movie ends on like a freeze frame with that song playing.
Yeah. It goes.
He's got his hand up in the air. Yeah, his fist up.
Yeah. I've only watched that movie once, and it was all right.
Yep.
The only thing I guess I could relate to that movie is that I did Saturday Detention a few times as well.
Oh,
That's
so
it.
you had your own little breakfast club.
Pretty much, yeah.
Found out a lot of things about yourselves.
But it's funny because like it's that the Breakfast Club is rather unrealistic because the kids that were in detention for the most part were the kids that were troublemakers. You're not really gonna find that like some of the kids in the Breakfast Club like shouldn't have been there in the sense
Oh, right.
how
right.
they end up in there. There were literally there wasn't a single person with a Letterman's jacket ever in detention.
Right.
I mean, my God, that doesn't happen.
Right. Exactly. And even the story that he told, I don't think detention would be it. Suspension would probably be the story that I would go with, but not detention.
Right.
Maybe detention because he has a Letterman's jacket, and the other kid would have been suspended.
Yeah.
But anyway, like they all managed to be these. Like one person from each different clique makes it into their, detention for this for like a few weeks, and they're like, once this is all over, we're all going to go back to our own little corners. You won't talk to me in the hall. You won't do this. This is a big holder thing, and I'm just kind of like, shut the fuck up, you guys. Like literally, it's like 2 years and you're done. Fuck off.
Right.
Like high school is nothing. It's 4 years of your life, and it's over. And then once it's over, you don't have to see or talk to anybody ever again.
Yep.
And more likely than not, you won't. Everyone moves on. It's life. Shut the fuck up. Where's that line? I want that line.
The Breakfast Club.
Yeah. There you go. The janitor was probably the best part of that movie. All right. I take it back. All right. We'll now move on to the worst movies of 1985. Let's start with one. I imagine this was like... nauseating to almost everybody, unless you were 3 years old. The Care Bears movie. Oh God, the Care Bears came out this year, and they had a movie already, and it's an infuriating product. It's an infuriating concept. It's just, I don't get it. I was never once remotely interested in the Care Bears. It seemed too young for me, and I was 4. Like that's not for me. That's for people who can't, form sentences. So yeah, there's the Care Bears movie. Another worst movie of 1985, Porky's Revenge. Don't know why he needs revenge after Porky's 2. And I don't care. It's already going worst movie in 1985. One of them. Just going to throw that in there. Anything to Porky's.
It sucks.
I wonder what constitutes revenge, because there's a lot of problematic things in Porky's to begin with. God only knows what revenge is.
Right. Hopefully someone's coming by and shooting.
No, it's all the women getting revenge through sexual assault charges.
There we go.
Right.
It's a courtroom drama.
It's a courtroom drama. Oh, it's fucking great.
Another worst movie of 1985. We have Santa Claus, the movie. This is not Tim Allen's Santa Claus. This is I can't remember his name. He was Dudley, or his name Dudley something. Remember that Alfie movie or something like that? He's like it was remade with what's his name? I'm totally drawing a blank here.
Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore. Yeah, Dudley Moore.
You got John Lithgow in there too.
Yeah, Santa
Burgess
Claus.
Meredith for some reason.
Yeah, grumpy old man Burgess Meredith.
I feel like Mystery Science Theater did this movie.
I could see it.
They may have. Someone riffed on it.
This one is it's not good. I saw some clips of it. It looks horrendous. So I'm just going to take it at face value here and put it on a worst movies list of 1985. I'm going to go from the bottom up now, because the last movie that I want to talk about for worst movie of 1985 is one I've seen a few times, and I can go with some length. But we're going to go with Return to Oz is one of the worst movies of 1985. Very creepy and weird. Dorothy has been put in a mental institution. And she's been like electrocuted, shock therapy, and all that stuff.
It's like a live action.
Yep. And the person who plays Dorothy is the Bobby Boucher's girlfriend, Vicky Valancourt.
Really?
It's her as a real young kid, obviously, because it's not gonna be her as an adult, because she's only like 9, 10, or whatever it is. I'm not sure how old she is. Maybe she's 14, but I don't know how old Dorothy was supposed to be in Wizard of Oz. If she's younger in the sequel, and she's because she's talking about going to Oz and all this stuff, people are like, oh, she's losing her mind, and then she returns to Oz.
Yeah. If she's supposed to be the original, then
But
She
it's
should be. Yeah.
isn't that
It's a
doll
be
book?
an old lady at that point.
Right. It's a doll book, right? A Roald Dahl book or something like that.
Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl or
something like that.
Wizard of Oz or something like that. But there's actually books about the Wizard of Oz. You know, the first Wizard of Oz, and then the Return to Oz. It's actually a book, and in that book, Dorothy is in a mental institution. That's actually the story. But like, there's some really creepy like creatures in Oz now. Like some of them have like they're on like these workout wheels, you know, with got two handles on a wheel, you know, and it like you roll it down the floor and you stretch yourself out and then pull yourself back up. It's like a core muscle workout thing. Well, they had someone on their feet and some on their hands, and they rolled around. People did, and they as some different creature. It looks really creepy and weird. I've seen that movie once. It scared me, and I was a teenager, and I never wanted to see it again. And I also remember it being really boring and just not entertaining at all, and nothing like the original movie at all. Nothing at all. None of the charm, none of the music, none of it.
Right.
Very bad. Return to Oz, one of the worst movies of 1985. Another two here I've got. These are just some. This was the prime action movie 80s year, I think one of them, because this one, Invasion USA. I've got that. That's with Chuck Norris.
Have we seen this, haven't we?
Yeah.
I remember it was supposed to be like a huge army, and it was like a few trucks.
Yep.
It was supposed to be like a whole nation's army, dude.
Doesn't he shoot like a rocket launcher at a Christmas tree or something? I don't know.
Yes,
something
like that.
Sounds right.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Invasion USA.
It's incredible. I recommend it.
But it's a terrible movie, but it's one of those movies you just laugh at. It's bad. It's so bad it's good, but it's still a really bad movie. Another one, American Ninja, the beginning of the American Ninja franchise, a terrible movie. This is part of I think it's like American Ninja 3 or 4, where there's a scene where there's a bunch of ninjas just hiding underwater without snorkels or anything like that. They just appear out of the water. Like, how long have they been down there holding their breath? Like, what the hell's going on here? They're all like different colors, like almost like Power Rangers, but with swords. One's a group of red ninjas, white ninjas, blue ninjas, all that stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. American Ninja, one of the worst movies in 1985. And now, oh God, if you guys have seen this one, you feel free to chime in as well. My pick for probably the worst movie of 1985, and that one is Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. And I said I was going to talk about this one, and I am. I remember the first time I watched this movie, I remember thinking, is it just me? Are there a lot of like homoerotic things going on here? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but are there a lot of like homoerotic, like the kid?
There are.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's intentional or not. I mean, there's one scene where this kid's like in his underwear wrestling his best friend for reasons. Like I think they're just joking around, and he's like grabbing him from behind, like doing the old reach around almost, and I got you in a move. Oh, you know. And then he has him like cleaning his room, and for whatever reason he decides to like do like a twerk and like close his drawer to one of his dresser drawers with his ass while he's listening to like some really weird music. I don't really know.
I remember this bullshit. Yeah.
Very. There's a exploding parakeet bird for reasons. It's a really bad movie. It isn't well thought out or done or any of that. It's just really, really horrendous. And it's my pick for the worst movie of 1985. If you guys have seen that movie, do you remember anything from it? Probably not. It's so forgettable, and it's just bland. It's like as soon as Nightmare on Elm Street, like they had Freddy Krueger would be, one of the most iconic horror villains of all time, and they almost killed the whole thing by the second movie. It was rushed. It wasn't done by Wes Craven. It wasn't done by. It was done by someone else. And they almost fucked the whole thing. So yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I think probably the gayest Nightmare on Elm Street. I'd have to say if you could rate on a scale of 1 to 10, this is an 11. So yeah, yep. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Porky's Revenge was this week, and so is Freddy's. So, yeah,
yeah.
Everyone's getting revenge in 1985. All right. Okay. Well, that will do it for movies of the year 1985. That will do it for our movie section of the podcast. Yay!
All right. Oh, yes.
Clap. Okay, good. All right. We will now move into the music section of the podcast with music of 1985. the music of the 80s. It's the music of the 80s. It's the music of the 80s. And for albums that went number one in 1985, we have Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. That was the number one album of 1985. We have Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms, the album from Dire Straits.
Oh, your favorite band, Chris.
I hate that band. I don't hate. I don't respect the musicianship. I just don't like the music they create. It's not for me. There it is. I've said it. All right, Miami Vice official soundtrack.
Yeah, get that.
As number one, one of the number one albums of 1985 went number one. The official soundtrack for a TV show. Another album that went number one in 1985, Phil Collins, No Jacket Required. Everything else is required, but you don't need to bring a jacket. Should be lovely. Madonna's Like a Virgin went number one in 1985. Madonna makes it on the scene. So I like this album a lot. Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. Tears for Fears, all their big hits that everyone knows. That's from that album. Good.
Yes, excellent stuff.
Yep. Wham made it onto the scene. Wham, Make It Big, another album that went number one in 1985. The Beverly Hills Cop official soundtrack, which I'm pretty sure is just Axel F on repeat for 10 tracks in a row.
Sounds about right.
Yep, that went number one in 1985. And the last album that went number one in 1985 was USA for Africa, We Are the World. Number one in 1985.
What album?
As far as I know, yep, it went number one. I mean, because they didn't have like a single. It was like a single track album.
Huh.
Yep. Went number one in 1985.
Like 45 minutes of just "We Are the World, We Are the Children."
I think it was like a single. Yeah, and it just it sold out because you know, I mean, it had like every pop musician, every rock musician.
Yeah.
It had everybody. That it was anybody in the music business for the past 30 years, 40 years almost, was on that track. Yeah. So it sold like hotcakes. Yeah. My personal album picks, I only have three. One of them is obviously Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. Fantastic. Another one I have, and more people have been turned on to her, as I have due to Stranger Things and others, but Kate Bush's Hounds of Love with her classics on that we've Running Up That Hill. Yeah. Kate Bush.
Yeah.
Hounds of Love.
I listened to that whole album not too long ago because of Stranger Things. It's really good. It's kind of It's kind of weird at the same time as like really weird kind of haunting production. But man, yeah, I thought it was quite excellent.
And my last personal album pick of 1985 is Tom Waits' Rain Dogs. That's it. That's what I got.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. That's all I got for 1985. Just those three albums.
I was when I first got into Tom Waits, I was listening to I think Rain Dogs, like the first song, Singapore, and my brother came upstairs and he just had this weird look on his face and he's like, does this guy have throat cancer or something?
Dude, I love
that's fucking Tom Waits.
Yeah, love Tom Waits.
And his voice just got better with age, just more gravelly. Just
dude, yeah.
Oh yeah,
it aged like fine wine.
Yeah.
God's away, God's away.
Yep, that's it.
God's away on business.
Oh my God, that's
dude.
really
Tom
good,
Waits.
Chris.
Yeah, Tom Waits, you're here. Welcome to the podcast,
Yeah.
Tom Waits.
All right. My worst albums. I've got more than my personal album picks. You have any personal picks for 1985, Brad? I know you like
I'm
the
looking
metal
real
scene
quick.
there. Well, I'll go through worst albums. You can mention a personal album pick in between.
Okay,
if you
sure.
got it. All right. So one of the worst albums of 1985. I've got Kiss's Asylum. Kiss Asylum. This is like their third or fourth album in 4 years.
They just keep making music,
right? And it's just each one is somehow worse than the next. I've got Motley Crue's Theater of Pain as one of the worst albums of 1985. AC/DC's Fly on the Wall, one of the worst songs, one of the worst albums of 1985. And I've got Jefferson Starship, or just Starship now, Knee Deep in the Hoopla is one of the worst albums of 1985.
Jesus.
And I don't know, Jefferson Starship's pretty bad. I mean, all these are really bad, but I mean, I hate this fucking artist. I hate him. Not as a person. Maybe as a person. I don't know. I don't know much about him, but certainly his music. John Cougar Mellencamp's Scarecrow with the worst fucking song of Small Town. And it only annoys me because I come from
I
a
was
small
born
town.
in a small town.
And
God.
when you
Love in a small town.
when you're from the Midwest in the United States, when you're from the Midwest, the middle part of the country here, and you live in a small town, this is the anthem for every single small town in the Midwest. There is not a small town that you can't go to. There's no bar you can't go to. There's no grocery store.
Right.
There's no
Just
gas
being-
station. You are constantly flooded with, "You born in a small town? I was born in a small town. A small
Right, yeah.
town.
Yep.
Up
Yeah.
and down, small town."
You're just constantly reminded that you're in the middle of nowhere
Right.
and your life will amount to nothing.
Yeah.
But fun. No, well, not only that. No, they
Is that the lyrics?
yeah.
Yes.
It should have been. It should have been. Yeah, but it was. Yeah, you're born in a small town. You're aware that your life will amount to nothing, but everyone else around you acts like it's the heaven on earth, and you should be like, we're so lucky we come from this small town where we have all this small town stuff. We don't have like more than one gas station, or we just have a blinking red light,
Or
red
indoor
light,
plumbing.
or indoor plumbing, or any of that stuff, or
Electricity.
anything to do for the youth. We don't have
Right.
money for schools. We don't have money for healthcare. We don't have money for any of that shit. But at least we have, we still live in that small town. So
We have
Got plenty of meth, though.
yeah, pretty much the only
Yeah.
people that get like being in a small town are farmers in the area who rule the small town.
right?
That's the people that like the small
Right.
town. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The fucking children of the corn, too.
Right.
Watch out for them.
right? And they fucking breed like rabbits, and everyone's around. And they're
Gotta have more work on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep making
that's
them-
pretty much the gist of it.
Keep
Yeah,
making
that's
them
exactly
children's
it.
of the corn.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yes, John Cougar Mellencamp's Scarecrow, one of the worst albums of 1985. Did you find any albums that stuck out to you, Brad, for personal album picks?
I mean, like Megadeth's first album
Yeah, I
came
thought
out.
about mentioning
That's
that.
pretty. It's fine.
Any song from that stuck out to you that you really liked, or
No, I can't think of anything. Spreading the Disease by Anthrax.
yeah,
That's pretty good stuff.
yeah,
Slayer's first album came
Yeah,
out, which
yeah.
I don't really know.
yeah? I looked on the songs, I didn't recognize a single one, and I almost put it on there anyway.
There's a lot of metal, but I don't know much of it.
All right, well, that will do it for albums of 1985, both top grossing, personal picks, and worst. Now we're going to get to the top songs of 1985. The top songs of 1985. The number one top song of 1985, George Michael's "Careless Whisper." Hell of a saxophone intro there.
Yeah,
it's a great song, dude.
That'll get the blood flowing. Oh yeah, Careless Whisper.
Yeah, maybe I'll karaoke this on Sunday. But yeah, Careless Whisper. There's something about saxophones. I really like saxophones in certain songs. There's certain ones that are just kind of like, it's so cheesy that it makes me laugh, and I think this is one of those songs. This song and that can't think of it now. It was on GTA 5 soundtrack. It's a saxophone song. It's like ba-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, dun,
Oh,
da-da-dun,
yeah.
da-da-dun,
Oh,
Yeah.
da-da-dun, dun,
Buffalo
da-da-dun.
Springfield?
Not Buffalo Springfield.
Is that Buffalo Springfield?
Yeah.
It's like
Shit,
Baker
yeah,
Street.
Baker Street.
Yeah,
Baker Street. That's it.
yeah.
Yeah. Baker Street. That's the name of the song. But yeah, but like again, like that, it's just, I know when you're playing GTA 5, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's kind of corny. But there's a lot of saxophones that it's not corny at all. It's fantastic. I would point to Money, or something like that. I mean, that's fantastic. Or by Pink Floyd. There's so many saxophone songs, or songs that include the saxophone, that are just fantastic. Careless Whisper just makes me think corny, and it's just kind of
It's way over the top, cheesy. Yeah.
one of my favorite things, though. When I think about this song, it is very over the top cheesy. Timmy, we were outside just hanging out outside the house many years ago. I don't know, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, having a cigarette, and out of the blue, he says, I can't remember what we were talking about, but he just says one line, says, "Guilty feet have got no rhythm, man." And I was like, "Guilty feet have got no rhythm." I was like, "Did you just quote Careless Whisper?" 2 a.m. Yep. "We're never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm." Yep. All right. Well, we move on to another top song of 1985, Madonna's "Like a Virgin." Madonna's big year. This is the year that I think was like maybe the first year for the VMAs, Video Music Awards, or MTV. where she was in a wedding dress and humping the stage, and that pretty much propelled her to superstardom.
As that would.
As it would, you know.
I mean, anyone could do that, and you'll get propelled to stardom.
Of course, the Like a Surgeon is pretty good. The funny thing is that she actually recommended that line to Weird Al. So that was like almost all her idea. He just came up with the rest. She said Like a Surgeon, and he was like, that's great, and he took it. He said it's one of the few times that he's gotten a suggestion from someone else and actually used it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, we got another one. George Michael, half of them at least. We got Wham's classic "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go," another top song of 1985. Jitterbug.
Yeah. It put the boom in my heart.
I mean, it's one of those songs that it brings a smile into my face when I hear it. It's just funny.
Yes.
It's just it's so corny and cheesy, but it's also you can't help but like it in a way. It's a good mixture.
That time we went to Indiana Beach, it was like you, me, my brother, my sister, Rachel, and Timmy.
Oh, right.
Indiana, I was driving, we stopped and got PBR, and I was drinking PBR while driving all of you, and I think we were all just kind of like hiding PBR and drinking it before we got to Indiana Beach. But yeah, we were playing Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. We're playing it, and we're just kind of, and then I think I turned it off. But then Timmy was still singing it. He had been singing it the whole time. Like we caught him singing it to himself. Oh man, I just remember that. That was great. That was a good time.
Yeah, I got attacked by some guy because I had a shirt that said, was it fudge packing, crack smoking, Satan worshipping motherfucker on the back of it?
Well, yeah. I mean, as one would. I mean,
yeah.
Come on, man. There's children around.
Not the brightest idea.
Yeah, but we were dumb kids back then.
Well, you know, we're listening to Wake Up and drinking open case of PBR while
Just
driving in a minivan.
Drinking while driving. Yep.
Yeah. We're from a small town.
That's what you do in a small town.
Yeah, right.
Drink PBR in a minivan, small town.
Drinking PBR in a small town. Driving to Indiana Beach in a small town.
Right, yeah.
In a small town? The whole town?
Well, everything's in a small...
Just fit everyone in the mobile. Yeah, you could just fit everyone in one vehicle like a fucking clown car. All right.
In a small town. Yeah.
In a small town. All right, we got another top song of 1985, Foreigners, I Want to Know What Love Is. I want to know what love is. Yeah, I think Nick sang these guys in concert.
I did, yeah. Me and Tim Nelson, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Nick lost his chain wallet to Foreigner. They took it from
that's the last time I ever wore a chain wallet. I've never worn a chain since.
Well, you gotta grow up sometime.
That's true, and it's funny because it was a Foreigner, Night Ranger, and Journey concert that
that's a sick lineup.
That pushed me forward past the chain wallet, and it's really funny too because like they said, oh, you can't bring that in here. That's a weapon, you know. And they're like, you're gonna have to either throw it away or put it back in your vehicle. And I was like, well, I look behind me and there's just this huge crowd because we got there a little earlier. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. So I just threw my chain away in the trash and walked in. And then later on, I saw someone from Foreigner who actually had a chain wallet on stage.
That son of a bitch.
Oh, I was thinking, what the fuck?
Yeah. I used to wear a chain wallet as well.
Foreigner privilege.
I had a little chain to tie to the other chains that made no sense. There's no reason for that chain to even be there. But I had it, and I had so many of them on purpose, so it would make this noise when I walked up the stairs in the school. So everyone would be annoyed by this every time.
You're accessorizing.
Yeah, like just insane. There's no reason to be doing this. So yeah, another top song of 1985. We got Hall & Oates' "Out of Touch." You're out of touch, na, 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 when you're not around. Something like that. That's all I know. That's all I know about that. Hall & Oates, "Out of Touch." We got another one. Top song 1985. This is a good one. It's a classic. Tears for Fears. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I think at the local festival we have every year, some cover band will cover this song almost without fail. I don't know why, but they do. It's not a bad song. It's not my favorite off the album, but it's one I chose for the top songs. It was probably their number one from that album. Yeah.
Right.
Just classic song.
Yeah.
It's just got that bum bum, just that whole thing. Welcome to. It's so good. Yeah, it's very good.
Oh yeah.
Another top song in 1995, although I can't stand it. Dire Straits, "Money for Nothing." Yep. No, I don't really know much about it yet. Yep. We'll move on now to another top song in 1985. Classic, all-time classic. Brad and I had karaoke to this song. Aha's "Take on Me."
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yep.
What'd you guys do?
Brad could hit the high notes better than me. No, we were just like, I wanted to do it all falsetto. Like,
yeah, good way to get kicked out of the bar.
No, yeah,
Right.
I've been threatened.
Yeah.
My life's been threatened numerous times for doing that. But and so we just did that, no talking away, just kind of singing it whenever, and Brad was singing, but then we would do the in a day or two, whatever it is, but we would do the same pitch or whatever, and it went on for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that breakdown.
I'm pretty sure it went really bad.
Maybe. I mean, nobody clapped, so there was that.
I don't really remember.
Yeah, it was at Pepe's long time ago.
Yeah.
I think it was the same night somebody karaoke'd Achy Breaky Heart and
of course
didn't know the lyrics or something, and they couldn't figure out how to do it. All right, we will now move on to another top song of 1985, REO Speedwagon's "Can't Fight This Feeling." Classic. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one. I used to listen to that all the time. Love REO Speedwagon. It's a guilty pleasure. Yeah. Guilty pleasure, man. REO Speedwagon. I don't know about like all their songs, by no means. But there's some songs I like more than others. But yeah, I think
I'm not judging.
Vice City from Grand Theft Auto really got me onto it. REO Speedwagon, because there's that song that they had. I can't remember what it was. It was one that had a few years earlier, but it was on that game. It was really good. Another top song in 1985, due mostly to the Back to the Future. Huey Lewis and the News, "Power of Love."
Yeah, I mean that song kind of rocks. Yeah.
Don't have money. Yeah, I like the beginning of the music video where it's got the bassist or the guitar player goes, "Ooh," it shows it just cuts to his face, like close up, like some weird light in the background, like right before the music begins, like the da na 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 power of love, it's a curious thing. Yeah, I'm not real. I got my answer.
I mean that killer synth at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then before it kicks into the do 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 do, that part right after it does the synth.
Yeah.
That's a and that's the guitar player. Classic. Yep. That's the power of love, baby. All right, another top song in 1985. Good Lord. Simple Minds, "Don't You Forget About Me." I already kind of talked about this song and how much I don't really care for the song at all. I've heard it way too many times, and I don't.
Yeah, you want to forget about that
I do.
song.
Right, absolutely.
I hope if maybe dementia will let me do that. We'll see. All right.
Only hope.
We can only hope. Fingers crossed.
For
Another
dementia.
top song, another top song of 1985, Bryan Adams' "Heaven" from his album came out last year. This is a song that was was covered in the early 2000s, around 2003 or 2004, and made into a dance song, or it's just yeah. And how's that go? "We're in Heaven," Oh, we're in heaven. That song. How's that go? Damn it. "You're all that I need when you're lying here in my arms."
Oh, okay, yeah.
Finding it hard to believe we're in heaven.
I see what you're saying. Then,
And it's
then they made it into a techno. They made it into an electric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song sucks.
Yeah.
That's whole thing.
So they added just a techno beat to the background of it, basically.
And change it to girls vocals. I remember that.
Oh,
Right,
weird.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we
I
got
don't like that.
and another top song of 1985. I don't like that artist. DeBarge with "Rhythm of the Night."
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it like
It's
yeah,
so
this
many-
is the rhythm of the night,
No.
right?
No,
Is
that's
that
a
the
different one.
chorus?
You're
Oh,
thinking of a
shit.
different one. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
90s. That's the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this almost reminded me of Gloria Stefan. You know, the come on, I'm gonna do that conga. This is like the Miami Cuban dance infused music explosion, or not really explosion, a minor explosion that happened in the 80s with Gloria Stefan and DeBarge and all this stuff. But yeah.
Right.
The rhythm of the night and into the morning sun. I don't know lyrics, but yeah. All right, we'll move on to another top song in 1985. We've got Chicago's "You're the Inspiration." They've given up the prog, they've given up the jazz. They are now ballads. That's all they do is ballads.
I hate that fucking song.
Yep. You're the inspiration.
Oh Jesus, no. No, please.
All right, well then we'll move on to another top song of 1985. We've got Pat Benatar's "We Belong." That's a good one. We belong, na, 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 we belong. I like in The Office when Kelly's singing this to Ryan at like Christmas party. She's like, "We belong, we belong together, Ryan." She says, and he's like looking like bug-eyed, scared out of his mind.
Right,
Yeah. Pat Benatar.
Oh yeah. This song's awesome.
Yeah. Yep, that's a good one. Another top song off his album, No Jacket Required, Phil Collins' "Susudio," a favorite of
nice
American Psycho. Yeah. Susudio. Yep, that's a good one. Yep. Phil Collins, classic. Great musician. Another top song in 1985, Don Henley, the Eagles, after they had broken up, they had a couple of Glenn Frey, I think his name was, had the heat is Glenn Frey had The Heat Is On. The heat is on. And then Don Henley had Boys of Summer, which was covered by the Ataris in like the 2004. Boys of Summer. I see you. Yep, good stuff. Don Henley.
That shit's awesome. Yeah.
All right, this one is a song that you cannot help but smile when you hear. I always think it'd be kind of funny to do if you had 3 guys, 1 girl, to do this as like a cosplay sort of deal for Halloween. The band is Katrina and the Waves. I'd like to be one of the Waves with just a trench coat, a hat, and sunglasses, and like Chuck Taylor's. Walking on Sunshine. I'm walking on sunshine.
Yep.
Yeah. Whoa. Don't it feel good? Bam. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yep. Good stuff. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Just can't help but smile at that song. Walking on Sunshine. And the last one I'm going to mention, a top song of 1985. We had Harold Faltermeyer's Axel F.
Okay.
Yep, good one. I remember one time I learned that whole melody on the piano, and I was like, I don't know, I think I was off for like a couple days. I was just in a like not shaved, like in a robe, just like I've clearly not done shit all day. And a couple people came home, and they're just all of a sudden they just hear me playing Axel F on the piano, like sad playing piano. But it wasn't sad, but it was just like clearly the guy, he hasn't even taken a shower today, and he's playing Axel. Yeah, so
you were in a depressed state.
No, I wasn't even depressed. I was just lazy. Is what it was. I was just lazy. I just hadn't bothered to put on like actual pants and just kept in pajama pants. And I was just kind of like, I'm gonna sit on the piano and learn Axel F, and I did. So yeah. All right. We will now move on to worst songs of 1985. We've got 3 from 1985, and I'm going to mention one that I forgot to mention in 1984. I've not done this ever on the podcast before, but
this is unprecedented.
It's unprecedented for sure, but I have to mention it. It's my mistake. The last one I mention will be from 1984, but these first 3 I'm going to mention are from 1985. One of the worst songs of 1985, John Cougar Mellencamp's "Small Town." We've already shit on that so much.
Oh yeah.
We can move on. Another worst song of 1985. We've got "We Are the World." Yeah, I went there. That's a terrible song.
Yeah,
it's not
stupid.
good.
Yeah.
It's corny. I can't believe it sold anything. I'd pay money to have that. Never hear that again. I remember they had that in like a music book when I was in elementary school to sing, and we'd have to sing "We Are the World." We are the world. We are the children. God.
Oh boy,
but
it's like a South Park episode.
Yes, it is.
Also, it's very appropriate that children would be singing it.
We are actually the children. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's like some breakdown where it has like Huey Lewis singing, and then it jumps to Michael Jackson, and the difference, and like Michael Jackson's a phenomenal singer, and Huey Lewis is not, and you can hear it. It's really.
How do you follow up that? That's
there's
so funny.
Right, there's like a behind the scenes look at them practicing that line, getting ready to record it, and there's a bunch of people that sing like in succession. Huey Lewis is one of them. Someone's before him, and then Michael Jackson comes in after Huey Lewis. But you see Michael Jackson's face when Huey Lewis pushes out what he's going to be singing, and he's like, "Oh God, this is not going to be good." So all right. And the worst song of 1985. You may hear this at the end of the podcast. You may. Jefferson Starships, We Built This City. This song was voted the worst song of all time in like 2005 or something. Yeah. This is the worst song of 1985.
No, Chris, the Celebration Station. Remember?
I remember.
That was the theme song, man.
Yeah. Well,
it was the theme song to an era of our lives.
That's why I blacked it out. It's
okay, fair
just
enough.
joked. But no, seriously, this song is garbage. The music video is horrible. The song is repetitive, boring. It doesn't make any sense. It's such a shit because it's clearly corporate rock pretending not to be corporate rock, and it's not a good anything.
No, you guys don't understand.
Fill us in. Why do you like it? It's just because of that era. Because I played it because I knew it sucked, and it became so endeared to you because it was around that time. A fun time in our lives.
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I mean, it is kind of catchy though, really. I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, there's a reason I will still play it to annoy people today. But yeah.
I just remember the music video, and they're singing "We Built the City on Rock and Roll," and the city's falling apart. And I remember you watching it and saying when they said that we built the city on rock and roll and everything's falling apart, you're like, well, apparently not really well. Rock and roll's not working. Find some
not well enough.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I remember they're at like the Lincoln Memorial, and at one point, that statue of Abraham Lincoln comes to life and stands up.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Everyone gets the line. What is it? They think it's My Pony Plays the Mamba or something like that.
Yeah, I don't even know what the hell's being said.
Marconi plays the Mamba.
Yeah, Marconi.
Marconi plays the Mamba. Listen to the radio. Don't you remember? We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. We built this city. We built this city.
See? This song fucking rules.
Song rules, bro.
I always wanted to do a cover of that or like a karaoke and have Timmy just sing the one line, this one note, really, because it's at the end of the song, like when they're like singing the chorus, and it's really high pitched.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
It's like almost.
I can't even hit
almost out. It's almost out of the range of human hearing.
Right.
So
I wanted Timmy to do that part.
Yeah, you think he could?
No, that's why I wanted him to do it.
He'd have to practice that.
No practice. No practice.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's not going to matter.
Yeah, I don't think he
could. Give it his best shot. That's what I want to hear.
But yes, the worst song of 1985, Jefferson Starships, We Built This City. Or maybe it's We Are the World, or maybe it's The Small Town. Maybe I'll have a combination of all of them. But this last song here I'm going to talk about, this is from 1984, and this probably would have been the worst song of 1984 if I would have remembered instead of having a combination of songs. But this song is by the artist, and that's lightly, I guess, Hank Williams Jr., and the song is All My Rowdy Friends Are Coming Over Tonight. Now this song, it was the theme song for Monday Night Football for many years, like 25 years, until Hank Williams Jr. called Obama a Muslim and didn't want to deal anything with dealing with the companies that basically something racist and ignorant. Go figure. It's Hank Williams Jr. The music video starts off with him at some nice little, I don't know what do you call it, a cabin, ranch, farm, home or something, way out in the woods or something like that. And he wakes up and the house is destroyed. He goes to answer the phone. He falls over into some ketchup that has conveniently fallen down because it's part of the lyrics of the song. And he wakes up and it's his buddy, I think, calls him or something, some member of the band, and it's got this really weird close up, and he's like, "All right, here we go." And then the song's like dun 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 on the piano, and it kicks in, and he starts talking about how he's got ketchup on his blue jeans. And the lyrics of the song, he's like, I got girls that can cook. I got girls that can clean. I got girls that can do anything in between. He has a bunch of girls in like maid outfits, skimpy like bikini maid outfits coming in to clean his house for him. To give him a massage, to sit him down and make sure he takes it easy because they're going to do what they do best. One of the more troubling aspects of the video is a guy on a tractor has a rope behind it, a rope tied to the tractor. And the rope is tied around the waist of this girl who's being pulled to this party against her will. That's my guess. It's also got Ernest P. Worrell riding on like a cow or something. I don't know. It's a lot of hillbilly redneck, white trash celebration.
Yeah, dude. I'm looking at it as you're saying all this, and God damn, man, it is. I mean, it is parody of itself. It is, you know what I mean? Like, it's so serious, but it is ultimately like the biggest parody of every stereotype you can put together.
Right.
It's in one thing, and this is it. This is the video that's in.
I could try to make fun of it, but I could just show the video, and it's already doing it.
It's
better than I ever
did. Fantastic job making fun of it.
I mean, at like 49 seconds, like once all those ladies come in his face, he's like, "Who?" Like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is like, oh my god.
It's got a lot of old, crusty white dudes like fawning over young women, and the women are like, "Oh, you know, like I'll cook, I'll get you another beer, you hard-working man." You know, it's so fucking stupid. It's so
I don't know. It's kind of awesome at the same time.
Oh yeah. It's awesome in the sense of being so outrageous.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. When you sit back and think about what's being, it's so out there that it's just kind of funny. But at the same time, like this was the norm, and I mean this is just a gross video. It just makes me feel kind of gross watching. All my rowdy friends are coming over tonight. So it would have been like the worst song of 1984. It's certainly the worst music video. But I have to mention it on this year's podcast for.
Well, don't forget that Cheech and Chong are in this music video.
Yeah, for a brief second, they're climbing out of a limo.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably a lot of, like, I guess, quote unquote
Cameos.
celebrity cameos because they show a lot of these like random guys.
Yeah.
Yep. There's I can't remember his name. Chris Christopherson, I think he's in it as well. One of the like people like around back by Johnny Cash's time and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, there's Cheech and Chong,
yeah,
coming out of a smoke-filled limo.
Yep.
Yeah, there's Chris Christopherson. Yep. I feel like all these guys are like famous in a way.
Willie Nelson's in it too, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all pretty
there he
much
is.
expected.
It fits the whole. Now it all fits together.
Yep. It's an awful song, and it just it's a shameful video. Shameful. All right.
Shameful. Wow.
That will do it. For,
I agree. I agree.
That will do it for worst songs of 1985. All right, that what you do it for music and for its entirety for the music section of 1985. Yay! All right, okay.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Clap,
Yeah,
clap,
lovely,
clap,
lovely.
clap, clap, clap. All right, now we'll move on to the TV section of the podcast with TV shows of 1985.
Space, the final frontier.
He's my friend and a whole lot more. The sky. Nothing's gonna stand in my way as long as we got each other. Thank you for being a part. Yo, Joe! Every time. Believe it or not, it's just heroes in a half shell. Turtle power.
And for TV shows that debuted in the year 1985, we have a classic, MacGyver debuted in 1985. MacGyver. I loved this show when I was a kid. Now, it was like 4 or 5 years into its running when I first seen it. But the idea of this guy just taking all these little odd ends from around the area's house, wherever he's at, and making it into something was so cool to me. I just thought that was great. I remember one time I was like, hey, Chris, you got to go take a shower or something like that. And I rigged up something in the bathroom to like turn the nozzle so it would turn the water on without me having to like I wrapped like a string around it and stuff like that. And I pulled it like some sort of half operation. If I just turn the nozzle, I'm in the shower, no problem. But I'm MacGyver. So it's
exactly. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's a whole thing. Also, Patty and Selma from The Simpsons. Just love MacGyver.
Yes.
Yes. Classic. Have you ever watched any episodes of MacGyver? It's kind of funny. I don't know if like all the science is true behind it, but it's it is what it is.
I've never watched any episodes, but I'm sure it's probably funny.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Another TV show that debuted in 1985, a classic comedy classic, The Golden Girls. The Golden Girls, fantastic theme song. I love this theme song.
Right.
Do you have a favorite Golden Girl? I think it's obvious for me. It's the little old lady, Sophia.
Oh yeah,
the smart mouth.
Right.
Just really good. B. Arthur's a comedy legend. Betty White is fantastic. I remember the Southern lady's name, but actress's name, but she's great too. It's a really well written show. They dealt with a lot of topics that other TV shows wouldn't touch. And it's just really good stuff. Yeah, The Golden Girls is the reason it's considered an all-time classic, and it lasted for as long as it did. I mean, I think it was NBC's one of its golden shows with Cheers and whatnot, and basically all those shows when they were going away is right when Seinfeld takes over, so they got lucky, and then Friends shortly thereafter. All right. Another show that debuted in 1985.
Well, they got Friends. It was not so lucky.
Well, I mean, it made them a lot of money, but whether or not it was a good show, that's neither there.
That's true.
Sorry, Sly. We were on a break. All right. TV shows that debuted. Another TV show that debuted in 1985. Moonlighting, which I didn't even know was a TV show. I used to watch Ninja Turtles like every day. And there's a scene in the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where Casey Jones and April O'Neil are fighting. And Donatello looks over at Michelangelo and he's like, it's kind of like moonlighting, isn't it? And I have no idea what he's talking about. I just kind of like, okay, I don't know what that means. And Moonlighting is essentially, it's a TV show with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd. And they argue back and forth. And there's a lot of bickering back and forth. And it's just like, it's like this tension, the sexual tension between the two. And so, yeah. And so that's what he was talking about. It's kind of like Moonlighting, isn't it? Now it all makes sense. Prior to me knowing that there was even a TV show called Moonlighting, because this came out before I was even born. So, yeah.
That was a reference for all the adults watching that movie.
Yeah. And it took me many years into being an adult for me to even get it. All right. Another TV show that debuted in 1985. This one was probably the one where I watched almost all my Looney Tunes. It's the Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes Comedy Hour. That is all the old episodes of Looney Tunes that they just put all together. Not ones you'd watch on Saturday morning. This is that whole thing. So it's that comedy hour, and that was pretty much where if I ever watched any Looney Tunes, cartoon, which I did a lot, that's where it came from. Was that comedy hour? So yeah, it was a pretty big deal. Another TV show that came out in 1985 was the animated show Thundercats. Thundercats came out in 1985.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually liked this show, but I don't remember any of it because I was a little kid.
Yeah, right. I don't think I ever watched it.
I never saw it.
Yeah.
I've heard of it, I think.
Yeah. I couldn't really tell you what it's about, but I just know it came out in 1985. Another TV show that came out in 1985, a show called Growing Pains, which I believe stars the completely sane and not at all out of his fucking mind, Kirk Cameron. Growing Pains, who got an actress fired because she posed in Playboy, and he didn't want to work with someone who was filthy and not Christian. He was the big star. Kirk, I'm a fucking psychopath, Cameron. Yeah. What a lunatic. I never bothered to watch that show. I never cared to. It was before my time, and I would only have watched cartoons. I've watched this next show that came out in 1985 a few times, but I didn't even really like it. I didn't think it was that good. It was called The Adventures of the Gummi Bears. It was on the Disney Channel. And I know that they drank some sort of berry juice and allowed them to bounce really high. And I thought, I'd like some berry juice. That'd be kind of cool. But I just never really got into the cartoon. I just really didn't like it.
I never watched it. I vaguely recall that theme song, though.
Yeah. Did you put it in the intro?
No, I did not.
That's
Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I
Weird.
watched it. It had
Why
good
do I know
animation
that?
quality. Animation quality is pretty solid, but compared to other shows at that time. But really, I wasn't too much going on. I just never got into it. This one's an all-time classic, a TV show that came out, cartoon animated. Really, I mean, the toy lines, the movie, just crazy. G.I. Joe, 1985. One of my favorite things about G.I. Joe are the end of the show where it would do like those, watch out, kids, if your ball goes into that you're playing with goes into the street, don't chase after it, get an adult, and stuff. Now we know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe, all that stuff.
Right.
I
Yeah,
love
the PSAs.
I love all the PSAs that were like redubbed.
Yes, I was just
Yeah.
gonna
Fucking
mention that.
hysterical.
They were
Fucking
great.
hysterical.
They were on E-Bomb's World.
Oh yeah,
their
E-Bombs
live-
were on
Yeah.
There's
They're all
one-
on YouTube now. Yeah,
They are, yeah.
I think my favorite one, or one of my favorites, was like house is on fire, and this kid's like,
Yeah.
help me, help me, help me, and this guy comes through, and there's no words or anything. It's just and the guy grabs a kid. Oh my god! And takes away G.I. Joe.
Oh man.
Well, yeah.
that's
Wait,
good
isn't that the
stuff.
one? There's another one of the houses on fire, and the kids are like, "Ah," and then the GI Joe guy comes in. He's like, "What are you doing in here, you idiots? Get the hell out! You
Yeah.
stupid kids! What are you doing?"
Yeah. I remember that.
Those
And then that robot one. I don't know. I recall the robot guy being like, "Yeah, he's just like,
yep.
And he shoots like a laser, like a ball of energy at the one kid and disintegrates him. The kid just like looks over like
G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
I like the one where guys like, "Hey, just make you some sandwiches. Hi."
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or body massage. Yeah.
That's the same guys who did the X-Men. That's where the Juggernaut bitch. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
I love that. Fucking
That's a
Charles,
great
Charles,
bit.
Charles, Juggernaut bitch. Yeah, the guy starts laughing in the middle of it. It's so funny. Oh yeah. G.I. Joe. The movies are fucking shit though. I shit all over them when they came out in like the 2000s. God, it's terrible. Really bad movie. All right. We have, let's see, 4 more shows that debuted in 1985. Mr. Belvedere debuted in 1985. The show Mr. Belvedere. I remember watching that as a kid. Didn't watch it a lot, but I remember watching it. It was a heavy set fellow walking down some staircase. I don't know what drew me in, but that was pretty much it. There was a story that Norm Macdonald told because I can't remember the name of that. There's some guy who was like an announcer for baseball, like the Milwaukee Brewers or something. He's actually a really funny guy, and Norm Macdonald would visit him from time to time, and they'd go golfing together and stuff. And he told some really funny stories about him. Norm did, but the guy like swears like every other word. He cannot not swear, which is really funny because he's an announcer, and he's really got to push himself to not swear. But he's talking about how he was on the show Mr. Belvedere. He was an actor on the show. I can't remember. If you look up the show, you can probably find out who it is. But he said that the producers pulled him into a room to tell him to stop. He's like, "You got to stop feeding Mr. Belvedere," because he would feed him like fried mozzarella. And he's like, "Well, fuck, he likes it." He's just going on. He's like, he's getting too heavy. You got to stop feeding Mr. Belvedere. Oh God, it's really, there's more to it, but yeah, there's a scene, Mr. Belvedere. I can't remember I don't know the guy's name, but I could look it up here in a second. Another show that debuted in 1985 was the Care Bears, and they also got a movie. Again, Care Bear overload, ridiculous. Another show that debuted in 1985, Larry King Live. Larry King started in 1985. I don't know how many wives he had at this time, but he would go through about 4 or 5 more by the time he retired. Yeah, I'm gonna look up that real quick. Yeah, have you guys ever watched Larry King? He's a good he's a good announcer.
I never watched the show, but I think I've watched some interviews that he's done with various celebrities and whatnot.
It's Bob Uecker. Bob Uecker is the name of the guy that Norm was talking about. Yeah, the guy played George Owens. He played on Mr. Belvedere, and he was the one who was feeding Mr. Belvedere fried mozzarella to the point where the producers got concerned and they told him to stop. Yes. But Larry King, I mean, he has great, my favorite Larry King, one of my favorite Larry King interviews was with him in Seinfeld when he doesn't know what the hell's going on. And he's like, "So, Jerry, you got canceled. Was it 9 years? Then you guys got canceled. And he's like, "Do you not know this? Do you really not know?" Jerry Seinfeld's like, he's like, "We get canceled. We went out on top. We were the number one show, Larry." "Oh, sorry." And he's like, "What's a big difference between being canceled and being the number one show?"
Right,
Like, "Can I get a resume in here? I don't know. Does anybody? Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?" Yeah.
Oh, Larry
I
King.
love that.
That was good. And I loved him on Norm Macdonald's show when he was Norm had Hitton on his show.
Right.
And he was like, "You got the cast iron," and he's like, "It's not iron, it's iron."
Right. Yeah.
Iron. God damn it! And he's just like, God.
It's so good.
Fucking hilarious. All right, and the last show that debuted in 1985 was a show called David the Gnome. The first cartoon that I really got into, that when I was 6 years old, I was watching this. When I was 6 years old it's like 7 years after David the Gnome came out. So it had already been around for a while. But I'm watching it. I remember I used to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day because I went to kindergarten in the afternoon. And David the Gnome would come on around noon. And I would watch a couple episodes of David the Gnome. And then I'd go to school. And I did that every single day. He had a fox named Swift that he would ride around and solve problems. He fought trolls, spiders, and all sorts of things. He lived in a little tree that had like this like triangle-shaped crevice at the base of it. And I would look at trees in the neighborhood that had those same, and I'm like, is there a gnome in there? I wonder. Is it possible? There wasn't. I never found anything, but I'm not going to rule it out. But yeah, David the Gnome.
Say, man, you got to keep looking.
I haven't stopped. I figure if they don't know that I'm still looking, maybe they'll show. Maybe
that is true.
Could be underpants too. Maybe something to do with that. All right. All right. We'll move on to the top TV shows of 1985. The top 10 for basic television. The number one show of 1985 on TV was The Cosby Show. Number 2 was Family Ties. Number 3 was Murder, She Wrote. Number 4 was 60 Minutes. Number 5 was Cheers. 6, Dallas. 7 was Dynasty. 8 was The Golden Girls. 9 was Miami Vice. And 10 was Who's the Boss? Who's the Boss? All right. The worst TV shows to debut in 1985. We have What's Happening Now, which is the spinoff of the show What's Happening. It lasted 1 season. Nobody cared what was happening now. They were barely aware of what was happening then. Number 4, The Colbys. Oh, I forget what the fuck that is. Oh, I can't remember. Shit, I wrote that down. I can't remember. The other 2 were 2 animated ones after that. Another 2 worst TV shows to debut in 1985 was the Star Wars Droids, which starred C-3PO and R2-D2, and Ewoks.
Oh, cool.
These animated films that are shows that are just terrible. They only lasted 1 season. The Colbys I cannot remember, but the worst show by far, the worst show of 1985, the debut in 1985, was the show Small Wonder. It's a little robot girl that gets adopted into a family, and it is fucking weird, and I don't know how the fuck it even lasted. It is such a bizarre idea. It's like Flying Nuns bizarre.
Oh, yeah, the Flying Nun. I remember that.
Yeah, but that's like the 70s, but this is the 80s version of absurdity. Have you ever watched any episode or seen any clips of Small Wonder? Have you ever? Yeah.
We just added a bit of the theme song to that compilation. So watched the intro, like with the theme song, and I don't know what the fuck was going on.
It was really, it was just bad special effects. I had to you see him working on her. She's a robot, but it's clear like this plastic looking thing. It's 85. Right. It's really stupid. It's like, well, we don't want to get another orphaned African American child, or just orphan in general. What can we do that's kind of like an orphan, but not totally? What about a robot? Fuck yeah, Small Wonder. There it is. It's a small wonder that show got made. It's a huge wonder, actually. It's a massive wonder how that show got made. All right, that will do it for worst TV shows of 1985. The worst show of 1985, Small Wonder. All right, that will do it for TV of 1985, actually. So we will now move into our last section of the podcast here, the video games. Big year for video games. Big game, or big year. Terrific year. Fantastic
big year. Huge year.
Never in the history of the world has there ever been a big year like this. Yes, video games of 1985. And for video games of 1985, let's start with the release of the Nintendo. There were a handful of them. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead here for a second and just say there are no worst video games of 1985. Couldn't find a single one. Couldn't find a single one that was even worth like talking about. They're all kind of bland. They're all equally terrible. But there's nothing about any of them that is even like I looked at critical reviews for like 25 games, and all of them are glowing. All of them. Now,
are they classic shit?
Right. They're glowing because they've never seen anything like it before in their lives.
Yeah.
It's just not. Just nothing to write about. So there are no bad games. I guess there's no worst video game of 1985. They're all kind of bad in some way, but there's a handful that are actually pretty good. I'll start. There's the Ultimate Classic. We'll get to that in a second. But there's a few ones that are like, oh my god. Yeah. So there's a Nintendo game that I played when I was a kid. It's one of the first video games I ever owned. Not personally, but we had. It was 2 players for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It came out in May of 1985. It was called Commando.
Interesting.
Now, it came out in May in Japan. It came out later in the year in the United States. But right. Commando. And I remember playing this game, and it was basically like a scroller up. You were just this commando who had this unlimited ammo, and all these soldiers are coming at you. And you've got to make your way through the map, and you can go down ladders and get these, gold and health bars and upgraded weapons. And it was fun to play. Then there was boss fights, kind of like Contra at the end there. Nice. And then at the end of each level, it was like some hulking guy with his gun smoking, standing on a pile of cash with like a scantily clad woman that you didn't see at all, just like hanging next to him. It's just like one of those things, it's Commando. Right. And then you move on to the next. I never once beat it. Didn't even really get very far. It was quite difficult, but John and I played. The music was really good too. I liked it too. Another a Nintendo game that came out on October 18th, along with the release of this Nintendo itself. A Nintendo game called Ice Climber. Yeah, part of the Ice Climbers, if you remember those. They were used in Smash Brothers now.
Smash Brothers,
yeah. So the Ice Climber, that was their release date on October 18th. This next game I'm going to mention, it came out for the PC in 1985, is an all-time classic. It is referenced today. I still think it's a fantastic game. It's a great board game, too, for the PC, Oregon Trail. Oregon Trail came out in 1985. I'm sure we've all played Oregon Trail. I know I played it. Do you remember any experience from Oregon Trail? Just get dysentery.
Played it a ton in elementary school, like during like computer class on the free days where we could just like play any game we wanted. Like it's like you and your friends go on the trail together and just playing it very poorly, like not realizing that there's strategy. Like you can't just buy a bunch of food and then go top speed the entire time.
I liked I think it might have been the updated version. But there's one where you could go hunting and you could shoot deer. I like that.
Yeah,
kill rabbits
that was
and
the
squirrels.
That was the version that we played in elementary school. Which it was an updated version.
Wagon wheels breaking, getting dysentery. I really liked stumbling across people who had died on the trail, because you would have a tombstone and you could leave a message. And I liked intercepting people's messages because they were funny. And I wanted to die and leave a funny message or something like that.
They've released it again. They've actually but it's better now, obviously. Like more modern. More things to do and stuff like that. Better graphics, stuff like that.
There's a board game that you play with Oregon Trail where you have supplies and you guys all get together and you try and make it.
Oh, that'd be fun.
All the way through.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It's like 50 cards you have to lay down in a line, the Oregon Trail, If you get to 50 and at least one person survives, everyone wins the game. And the last time I played it, it was we were at 49 and we couldn't lay down the 50th card. We just ran out of everything and we both died.
Oh my god!
We literally lost by one card.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think I played the original, like DOS version on some sort of emulator on the internet. The last time I played it, I had. Remember, you were there, Chris. I mean, you weren't there, but I typed your name in.
Oh,
and
nice.
I started off at a grueling pace, like immediately. It's like, let's go, and then like 10 seconds later, Chris has broken his leg. It's like, God damn it, Chris. So then I'm just like, you know what? Screw that. You'll be okay. And I just keep going at a grueling pace. And then like 20 seconds later, Chris has died. It's just like, oh, whatever, just keep going. Like I imagine I just threw your body like
Just
out
toss
of the
me
back
away.
of the wagon. Yeah.
Right.
Damn it, Chris.
All right. Drop off the dead meat. There it is.
Yep.
Give it to the buzzards. Yeah, Oregon Trail, just a classic, really fun, really neat idea, really entertaining game, and endlessly replayable.
Oh yeah.
Just really good. They really started, picking up the game in 1985. Another game that came out was actually for the arcade originally. Came out in April of 1985. A game called Paperboy. Paperboy. I played this on the Nintendo, and I liked it. It was incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
About as difficult as the Back to the Future game, I think, that would come out next year, where you would have to collect clocks to stop time or whatever it is while you're traveling. It's basically like Paperboy, same layout, but instead of newspapers like you do with Paperboy or tossing them, whatever it is, you're getting clocks. Anyway, yeah, Paperboy was a huge arcade hit, and then eventually made its way to the Nintendo Entertainment System. One of the things about Nintendo, what they did is they did the Nintendo seal of approval, which you'll see on all the front of their cases.
Yeah.
So you'll see this seal of approval, and that really helped with gamers and being, okay, this has got that seal of approval. That's means they've gone through and they've looked, and this is okay to be put out, because there was so much
from ET
saturated, which is so many people. Exactly. There's so many companies making games, and so many games out there that aren't like necessarily even regulated. Like, it's just crap.
Right.
And it brings everything else down. So when you see the seal of approval and you're getting games like Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, you've got a certain quality that it's going to reach. So when you get a Nintendo game, you're not getting something that's going to be a piece of shit that doesn't even play.
Right.
So yeah, that was a huge deal. I don't know if it was all necessarily true. It just kind of threw the seal on there half the time, but at least they made some effort. On July 7th, for the Nintendo Entertainment System, Ghosts and Goblins came out. Ghosts and Goblins, very difficult game. I remember that. I never played it, but I've heard on just on its difficulty alone, it's memorable. This one, I couldn't believe it came out this early, but it must have been a really barbaric, really early version of this game. It came out on the arcade in 1985. The Gauntlet came out in 1985. Yeah. And I was like, oh, really? Shit. So, and really, it's not beyond this next game. This is the last game I'm going to mention for 1985. The game of 1985, one of the greatest games of all time. The first major game, the first game I ever played, which just started a 3-decade plus love affair with video games. Then for the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Mario Brothers came out on October 18th, 1985. I never knew that. I never knew what day it came out, but yeah, October 18th, 1985. Yeah, the Nintendo was released to a certain small areas in New York, and it ballooned up. It just blew up. And by then, within a year, it was in every store across America, and just sold out. Everyone loved the Nintendo. I'll let you go, Nick, if you played Super Mario Brothers your first time. I don't think you like those games particularly because you don't think you're very good at them.
No, I'm not very good at the Super Mario games. Don't particularly like them because of that reason.
Yeah, I get you. Did you played the original, right, Brad?
Yeah, but not much. Did not have an original Nintendo growing up. Had a Super Nintendo and had a Super Mario All-Stars, which had original Mario, the Lost Levels, I think 2 and 3, and Super Mario World.
Oh, nice.
I think maybe it didn't have a Super Mario World, but the original one, I mean, I played it some, but I've definitely preferred Super Mario World over it.
Oh,
and even Mario 3 was way better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which we'll get to. And Mario 2 actually was pretty neat. It was like a total departure.
Oh, there's a whole reason behind that.
Yeah,
I'll get to that when we get to Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah, as for the very first one, I don't really have much to say about it.
All right, well,
those are my favorite.
I'll go on. I remember playing it, figuring out that you want to get the mushrooms. What's that green one? Jump up here and get the. Everyone already knew. My brother already knew. John already knew the secrets. Jump right there, run there. There should be the 1-up in level 1-1, and sure enough, you jump in there, you get the 1-up, and you're going through all these emotions, and then you die, you play again, and you get a little bit further, You're like, how many levels are there? You wonder, and then you find out. The first time I ever used a shortcut in a video game, any secret in a video game, was in Mario Brothers. That's the first time I ever found out anything about like jumping
warp zones
of like in World 1-2, getting on top of that map where you're thinking, oh, this is funny. I've kind of broken the game here, and you just keep going right, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait a second, there's something here. It was so cool to see.
Yeah, that had to have been like mind blowing at the time.
Yeah, it was. It was like, what the fuck? What is this?
Like secret areas,
right? And then I went to 4 because I was like, okay. And then where does this take me? What does 4 mean? And then you're like 4-1. I'm like, oh my god, I've skipped levels. And then it wasn't until years later, or a year or so later, that you found out that there was even a more secret in World 4-1 or 4-2, I should say, where you can skip ahead to 8-1. And just how to do that. And one of my favorite things about Super Mario Brothers is it's still played today with regularity, and it's mostly for speed running.
Yeah.
And the speed running it's so much fun to watch. I just love getting like a fraction of a second faster, doing all the little tricks. I remember there was a trick back in the day where it was towards the end of the game where there's one of the Koopa ducks is going down the stairs essentially as you're trying to climb up to land on the flag. And you can hit the Koopa duck into its shell and just have it sit its shell on one of the steps. And you could do this thing where you jump on the shell and just keep hitting like B, and you would just keep jumping and like hitting the shell against like the side, and you would get these points. And if you rack up your points, you get so many, you get an extra life. And you can just keep getting extra life, extra life, extra life. And at one point, once you get so many lives, it's not like you get like 10 lives, right? And then you go to move to 11, and it's some weird measurement, or not measurement, just whatever it's called. It's like king something. It really doesn't make, I don't remember exactly what it is, but like when you have more than a certain amount of lives, instead of it being like 15, it changes something completely different. You're like, what? How many lives do I have left?
Huh.
It's really strange. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but yeah. It was the first game. I mean, John and I would play. I'd be Luigi, he'd be Mario, and then he'd play, and once he died, then I'm like, oh, it's my turn. And then I'd try and play and go as long as I could until I died. And then we just try and see who could beat the game fastest. And I think probably the quickest I've ever beaten the game was 10 minutes, maybe less, probably 7 or 8.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, figuring out the last castle, or King Koopa's castle, in 8-4 I didn't know. I literally would go around till the time fell out because you just don't know. You go through one pipe, you go through another, and it just keeps repeating itself. And there's certain ways you have to go about it. It was really, and there's no magazine. I had no guide. There's no internet.
Right.
You just get to 8-4 and hope for the best. You spend an hour or so getting there and then hope for the best. That's it. So yeah.
Man, those were the days.
Yeah.
You just had to figure it out, kid.
Yeah. That was I could go on and on about Super Mario Brothers. It was hugely influential for me. It really started my love for video games. I think the second video game I ever played was Blades of Steel. And that was my dad. My dad bought a Nintendo. My dad started my love for video games because he loved it, and he went out and bought himself a console. And I think I remember my mom being like, "You're buying what? How much is it?" Because it wasn't cheap. Yeah, right. And I remember
video games.
He took it with us when we went like visiting relatives. He would take the Nintendo with him. Yeah, and he took it and brought it, and he's playing Blades of Steel. I remember that. I remember asking, "What are you playing, Dad?" Blades of Steel. And I'm watching this little hockey game going on, and these guys like run into each other 3 times, and then they start fighting each other. They have teams that don't exist. They skate and strange. It was some really rough sounding sound effects, but I love that game.
Blades of Steel.
Blades of Steel. It's like so oh yeah, but no, good stuff. We'll get to that probably 1986 or 87, whenever that came out. But yeah, that will do it for video games of 1985. Yay! All right, and like I said, there's no worst video games. I mean, there are bad video games that year, but I can't say much on it because I don't know anything about it. I haven't played any of them, and I can't even read into it because there's nothing bad written about any of them. Then there weren't a great deal to choose from, so that was pretty much it. I guess I could just choose any game. Let's see here. Let's see.
Random game.
Let's go with
none of us have heard of.
Let's go with let's say all right. Let's do Battle City. Battle City came out in September.
City.
Battle City came out September 9th, 1985. It is a multi-directional shooter video game for the family computer, produced and published in 1985 by Namco. It's the successor to 1980's Tank Battalion. Actually doesn't look that bad of a game, but yeah, let's just name that one.
It looks like it got good reviews.
Yeah, every game got good reviews. Everything is fantastic. So
it's just difficult to find something that
it's just something I can't I can't even legitimately say that Battle City is a bad game,
right?
But like literally, they just hit it out of the park. There weren't a lot of video games to choose from, and the ones that were released aren't bad.
I mean, yeah, it looks totally competent. Like you can't shoot through like the metal blocks, so you can shoot through the bricks. And you can like hide in the trees, looks like. You're in a little tank and you're going around shooting the other tanks.
All right, now forget that. That's a good one. How about Time Gal? Time Gal.
What?
Time Gal. TIMEGAL. Time Gal. Time Gal's an interactive movie video game developed and published by Taito and Toei Company and originally released as a Laserdisc game in Japan for the arcades in 1985. It looks something anime. I don't know. It never will ever play that game in my life, but that is the worst game of 1985. Time Gal.
Yeah, we'll go with this one.
Time Gal.
Probably a better choice.
Yes, let's do that. Time Gal, absolutely worst game. I know what I'm talking about. Let's do. Yeah, when I look at reception, GamePro magazine noted that Japanese players ate it up when it first released in Japan. It's got an 80% on game rankings. It's literally there's nothing bad. Even though I look at that game and I'm thinking that looks like a bunch of shit. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Garbage. It looks like a terrible time. But yeah,
because it was praised for its visuals during its
time. The animation is pretty good.
Yep. Let's see again. It's not actually that bad. So like I said, there are no bad games.
85, man. Great year for video games.
Great year for video games. Absolutely 100%. So I really can't, in good conscience at all, say that there's any really bad games in 1985. So the first time that I haven't been able to do that. So yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway,
that's awesome.
That will do it for a video game section of the podcast. Yay! I think we already did this, but all right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else to add for 1985, we'll finish it all up there. All right, then. And with that, I hope you enjoyed listening to our conversation and will join us again for another installment of History with Respect. Don't forget to hydrate, exercise, and to like and subscribe to the podcast. All these things are essential for your health and well-being. Take care of yourselves and each other.